Alright, so I'm in the emergency room, um, in the waiting room. I got done with everything that I had to do at the hospital here today. I should be getting a call later on from their Department of Health and Human Services type folk. Um, that officer from yesterday about the meth house here in Cheyenne that I rescued Desiree from last year has not gotten back to me. However, it's Sunday and yesterday was Saturday. He's probably off. As far as making sure that people like that aren't available for people to use as their product for victimization or their tool for victimization is pretty important. Now, I'm not going to focus at all on my missing items. It doesn't matter to me if Desiree stole them or he stole them. The items aren't important. It's the human being that's important. People here being courteous, allowing me to have some dinner, or breakfast rather. This is pretty well unheard of in Colorado. Most of the places where somebody like me goes in Colorado, we get treated a lot different. See, there's a lot of services in Colorado that you don't have in Wyoming, but also a lot of those services become null and void because of everything that you have to go through to get them. I mean, it's nearly impossible to get a lot of those services. Number one, because of the number of homeless people. Number two, because of the frequency of being victimized by the police for being in those areas. A lot of people that I know in Colorado, myself even, have gone to the hospital and been treated like we're junkies just walking in the door. They treat us like we're faking it before we even tell them what's wrong. With Brett Roloff, he had a... Oh God, my back itches always. I probably should have told that doctor about the rainbow pain. That probably isn't a good description, but that's what it feels like across my back. There's different areas of hot and cold, and it kind of feels like a rainbow. Like it's in an arch in my back, and it's around my thoracic vertebrae, the lower thoracic. I don't know the numbering sequence for the cervical, lumbar, or thoracic vertebrae, although that's not in the order that it should be in. It should be a cervical, thoracic, and then lumbar. But it seems to be like positioned above my lumbar, and then the lumbar portion is the portion that has the shooting pain. Now, the hot and cold pain that arches across my back, it doesn't even feel like it goes as far as my shoulders. It pretty well starts where my ribs start. Goes just a few inches above it to, I don't know, maybe about 5 inches worth of area. And I guess that hits my shoulder blades at the bottom of them, but it doesn't reach my actual shoulders. I probably should have said something about my neck pain, but really I think that's just from the position I sleep in. The armrest is there, so when I sleep, there's not a lot of area. So the armrest is just tall enough that it keeps my head cocked like this. And that doesn't really improve my position. A lot of the internet access that I have is like, at Starbucks and such. But also, if I have really, really bad nights as far as panic attacks go, like I did the last few nights, it gets really bad. And then I don't go to sleep. I end up crashing. It's a little bit different. It's where basically, I just can't stay conscious any longer, and I illegally pass out in the Starbucks parking lot. Now, it is private property, so as long as they don't call it in, it's fine. But it's also the fact that, if they do decide to call it in, that I'll probably have some issues. So I gotta try not to sleep there. I gotta try to be able to leave the Starbucks early enough when I start getting tired that I can make it to the Walmart parking lot. It's about 2 or 3 miles trip each way, so I don't know, between 4 and 6 miles round trip. So that's over a half a gallon of gas, I suppose. Around a half a gallon. Ugh. Sorry about the belching. But the oil, I have to put oil in it every time I start my vehicle. It drains out pretty quick, so if I'm driving in town, I try to put enough oil in it to where it can get me to where I need to go, and that way it doesn't just continue to drain out. I might be able to get a little bit more work done today, but the having to sleep during the day thing, because I'm up all night having a panic attack, that eats up a lot of my internet hours. I'll probably spend this morning typing up my story, because it's pretty important to get that done. Most of my story isn't about terrible people doing terrible things. It's about good people who take things wrong and do horrible things. A lot of people, I like to believe the best in them. I like to believe the best in their motivations. Ultimately, though, what it comes down to is it doesn't matter what their motivations are when the outcome is the same. If you have the purest of intentions, but you end up screwing somebody out of $500, they're still out that $500. A lot of people, they tried to help me back when this first happened. After a year of not being able to see my friends or family before Natalie was killed, I mean, I was pretty friggin' razzled and frazzled mentally. And Nicole Peralta was able to help out a lot with that. She listened pretty good. But really, the major factor with that, the main thing that made me stay in Nebraska and keep going back there is Tamara. She's originally from Longmont, though, so I'd really like to get back in contact with her. I'd like to get her statement on a few of the things that I went through. I mean, Natalie was the most wonderful person I ever knew. That's just based on how she treated me. That was based on her ability to understand. When she was mean to me, it was to make other people happy. People who are never happy. People who will never admit they did wrong. Her mom, out of everybody in this, I believe that her mother is the real victim. She got stuff wrong, and she did some pretty bad stuff morally, but I do try to understand her position. I mean, when I was in Virginia, I was trying to understand their position, and that's a lot of the difficulties that I have, is that I can really read what people are going to do pretty easily. That's because the patterns in their behavior that they exhibit. And a lot of the videos that I make, I'm trying to teach people how to understand those patterns. When it comes to somebody who does a lot of drugs, I mean, I am probably the best guy out there for drug counseling and outreach that you're likely to have, which is really sad because I really haven't done any of them drugs. I just know so many addicts. I've been helping them out for years, but not just homeless addicts. I mean, most of the addicts that I know are in houses. Most of the alcoholics I know are in houses. Nebraska, it's pretty well alcoholic after alcoholic. Go house by house. When they were down there in after Hurricane Katrina, and they put the marks on the wall to show how many dead people were inside. I kind of wanted to do that in Chapel, Nebraska, with the number of alcoholics. Put some marks on the house so people know how many alcoholics are in the house. And then another number to let them know about how much booze they go through per day. And then another number to show how much money they spend on alcohol per month, given the consumption of the alcohol per day. That way I could show these alcoholics that they need to quit complaining about where their money is going and why black people and Mexicans are not to blame for the reason that they're always broke. If you go through a 30-pack of beer a night, yeah, that's a lot of money. You're gonna go broke.